Hey, what's up, guys? Alan Bishop here from the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute, your source for all things distillation knowledge related, whether it be legal distilling or home distilling. Flip the camera around and see how horrific this looks. So, tuning in today. It's actually a really nice day for November here in Indiana. It is overcast. It's a little rainy. That's okay. The weather is nice. It's probably in the upper 40s, lower 50s, somewhere in there. I love days like this. I love fall in general, late fall going into winter as well. But I had a little time here to answer some viewer questions. I am obviously running my little 3-gallon still. We're doubling the Palinka apple brandy that we just stripped the other day off the Dr. Gratis, and I'm really excited to see what I get off of this particular distillation. I'll probably try to document some in the next few videos. I don't think it probably warrants a video of its own accord, as you guys sort of already probably understand the fundamentals of distillation. We've done several videos on that anyways, but I'll show you guys the still as we go through the next series of videos here. They don't always get released in order, just bear that in mind. You may see pieces of it here and there, and it may be a few weeks before you see some of the rest of it, and that's okay. But I did have a viewer question about what I do to prep the still prior to distillation. So specifically with regards to cleaning out any copper sulfates or things of that nature, copper salts that have built up in the still, the condenser, etc. So honestly, I run most of these stills enough that I don't ever get a lot of buildup. And one of the things that I am very particular about is whenever I finish a distillation run, I immediately hit that still with hot water and flush everything out. I flush out the boiler, flush out the head, flush out the column if it's a column, flush out the condenser, all that stuff. That's something I learned as a professional distiller that I'm pretty much a stickler on and try to stick to as much as possible. So obviously, because of that, I don't build up a lot of verdigris inside the still. What I do build up over time is a little bit of darkened copper from where it's grabbing those sulfates. And one thing that most people in home distilling, I think even a lot of professional distillers may not understand, is that's not a bad thing. So the interesting thing about copper is that when it's clean and it's shiny, it's kind of unprimed, right? Stills are sort of like skillets, iron skillets. You need them to be seasoned a little bit. They're actually far less effective when they're completely clean than they are if they have a little bit of that blackness built up on the inside. So that's something I look forward to, or something I look for as a sign of quality before I make a run. Maybe even at work, let's say on the doubling still at work, the 600-gallon still at work, depending on what I'm running, I'll probably run cleaning runs on that maybe every 3 weeks or so, 2 to 3 weeks, depending on what it is. With rye whiskey in particular, I get a lot more of that buildup over time. I want some of that oxidized copper. Again, don't get me wrong. That oxidized copper is actually what makes the copper active. It makes it much more reactive than it would be if it were clean copper. But about every 3 weeks, I will do a steam out run. And what I do is I don't even use the clean in place stuff, because the clean in places to me do not do a very good job, especially on pot still. When you're running, really funky stuff that's got a lot of long chain fatty acids in it, high flavor congener stuff. You build up quite a bit of quote-unquote soils in the still over time. So what I do is I take and I will boil out, excuse me, got a little bit of a sinus thing going on here. You're just going to have to bear with me. So I'll usually boil that out one good time with, say, powdered brewer's wash. Take it all the way up to a full boil, get it off the condenser, dump that, fill it back up with citric acid solution. I try to drop to 3.5, maybe 3.4, 3.3, somewhere in there, pH-wise. Hit it with that, boil it out, dump that, and then I hit it with boiling water, and then dump that. And that works out really, really well for me. Even then, what I like to do, my preference is, if that takes us down to nice, new, shiny, clean copper, which it should do if we've handled the situation correctly, I will then let that still set, at least for a day, with the top of it open. I do this at home as well. And let that copper oxidize just a little bit. Again, it's not that nice, shiny, gleaming copper that you want inside the still. You need a little bit of that oxidative copper to actually be effective during distillation. If I haven't run something for a long time, let's say, for example, a great case in point here in this very building, I have Mike Stallings, Saint Sparrow, patron saint of heathen distillers. I have his 50-gallon still. And Mike had not run that for quite a bit and had been sitting in a barn. And so it was very, very, very oxidized on the inside. The last time he ran it, I don't think it got cleaned out real well, and so there was a lot of copper salts on the inside of it. I did steam it out a couple times. I did the same thing that I do when I'm at work with the big stills, as far as the citric acid and the powdered brewer's wash and the boiling water. That still didn't quite cut it. So I actually filled it up with water, let it set with powdered brewer's wash and a little bit of unscented, unbleached regular palm olive soap. Nothing scented, nothing with any bleach, nothing with bleach alternative. Unscented palm olive soap. And I let that set for 24 hours. I got in there with a scrub brush and I scrubbed the hell out of it. Then I filled it back up with citric acid, let it set overnight. I did the same thing again. Those methods have always worked really well for me. You know, there's a difference between one that you're running all the time where you don't have to worry about that too much and one that's been setting for a while. So always bear that in mind. The one thing that I always do at home in particular if I'm running a worm, because at work I don't have worms. I have Gatling gun condensers, shell and tube condensers. But I've mentioned on the channel before, maybe running, you know, either unbleached toilet paper, unbleached felt, unbleached paper towels, something of that nature underneath the receptacle that you're collecting in. Just grab any copper salts that might come off, and that helps me out really well and does a great job of keeping that stuff out of my spirits in particular. One way you can check and see if you've got any copper salts in your spirits, particularly with double pot distilled stuff, is, you know, we talked about those long chain fatty acids. We talked about the stuff that falls out of suspension when things get cold. So run you off a bottle of whatever you're running, take it and put it in the freezer, and see if you don't see those long chain fatty acids fall out of suspension, which we've talked about on this channel before, and see if they have any blue or green coloration to them. If they've got blue or green coloration to them, you got copper salts in your system, and you need to clean that still extremely well. So, as always, guys, reach out to me with your questions, bishopshomegrown@gmail.com, any of my social media, as well as, what else did you just say? YouTube comments below, and check out thealchemistcabinet.com for the store and all the links, etc. Check out the other podcast, 2 of them, Distillers Talk with Christy Atkinson, as well as Season 2 of If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything, which as of today, I'm about to launch tomorrow. So by the time you see this video, If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything, Season 2 will be up and running. If you like the paranormal, Fortean, and high strangeness, that's the kind of show for you guys. So I'll check back in with you guys with another video with a little update on this apple brandy distillation here before too long. Love you guys. Later.